في لبنان في لبنان
يا بيروت oggi
Prime Minister Blair was in Washington today meeting with President Bush and emerged from that meeting pretty much with the same position that they did not call for an immediate ceasefire.
في لبنان
In 100 days, 800,000 people were killed, most of them Tutsis, but also moderate Hutus who were trying to protect their friends, their neighbors, their loved ones. They even had rape militias. So in some instances, they took people who had HIV and AIDS, they took them out of hospitals and deployed them to go rape Tutsi women. So not only would those women get infected, but their unborn children would then be infected upon birth. It was so vicious, and it went on until July of that year when the Ugandan army supported the Rwanda Patriotic Front. They pushed out the regime. And as a result, they brought in a tribunal to Tanzania where those who committed the worst crimes were held accountable. 90 people indicted, and dozens of them were senior officials within the government and the military of Rwanda. But when you think 90 people indicted, it's not enough when you're thinking also of almost 1 million people killed in 100 days. Really, really a very dark chapter. 70% of the Tutsi population of Rwanda was wiped out.
Welcome to Global Conflicts Unveiled, the podcast that explores the complexities of global conflicts, not just a historical event, but as a human stories. I am your host, Samantha Nicole Renel, and we have here Mr. Jane Nacobar to accompany us. And today we're tackling about civil war. This episode has 3 main segments we're going to talk about. So first segment is we have the roots, the second segment is about human cause, and the third and last segment is difficult path to peace.
Civil wars are a recurring tragedy fueled by a complex interplay of religious, political, and economic factors. We'll examine key examples to understand these underlying causes, explore the human impact, and investigate how societies have attempted to build peace after the devastation.
So what fuels these devastating conflicts? It is really simple, is it?
No, it's rarely a single cause. Take religion, for example. Civil wars don't erupt overnight. They're a result of simmering tensions that often boil over after years, even decades of unresolved issues. Let's start with religion. Religious conflicts, while often presented as clashes of faith, are frequently about power and control. For example, the Lebanese Civil War that started from 1975 to 1990 saw a brutal fighting between Christian and Muslim communities, but at its core were political power struggles that exploited existing religious divisions. Actually, I researched about this, and it says that the Lebanese Civil War was a 15-year conflict that rooted in the deterioration of the Lebanese state and the rise of militias that provided security where the state could not.
So this proves the danger of using religion as a tool for political manipulation.
Yes, and the main functions involved including the Lebanese Front, representing Maronite Christians, the Lebanese National Movement, a coalition of secular leftists and Sunni Muslims, the Amal Movement representing Shia interests, and the Palestine Liberation Organization, which represented Lebanon's Palestinian refugee population. The war also involved foreign powers, notably Syria and Israel. The conflict escalated from a crisis of insecurity, marked by political corruption and the inability of the government to maintain order, particularly in the face of PLO guerrilla operations. The civil war was officially commenced on April 13, 1975, with an attack by the Phalangists on a bus carrying Palestinians, leading to the widespread violence of the establishment of a green line dividing Muslim West Beirut and Christian East Beirut. Syria intervened in the war, initially to stabilize the Christian factions, while Israel supported Christian militias in response to PLO attacks. In 1982, Israeli invasion aimed to expel the PLO from Lebanon, resulting in significant casualties and the establishment of Hezbollah, a Shia militia. The war saw a severe human cost with over 100,000 deaths and nearly 1 million displaced. Foreign intervention and competition among militias led to a militia-dominated economy and a collapse of governmental authority by the late 1980s. And to add up, the war effectively concluded with the Taif Agreement in 1989, which reformed Lebanon's political structure to balance power between Christians and Muslims and affirmed Lebanese independence. The agreement also allowed for Syrian forces to remain temporarily, and the conflict officially ended on October 13, 1990, when General Michael Aoun was ousted by Syrian forces. The new government began a challenging process of rebuilding and consolidating power, marking the establishment of Lebanon's Second Republic.
Oh, right, exactly. And there is ethnicity. Rwanda is chilling example. The Rwanda genocide is a horrific example of how deeply rooted ethnic tensions, exacerbated by political opportunism, can lead to unimaginable violence.
Oh, it's a sobering reminder of the potential for hatred and violence when ethnic divisions are exploited.
So decades of colonial policies and societal division created volatile environment ripe for exploitation of Rwanda's genocide, also known as genocide against the Tutsi, was horrific event that occurred in Rwanda from April 7 to July 19, 1994. These primary targets were members of the Tutsi ethnic minority, along with moderate Hutu and Twa people. The genocide was carried out primarily by Hutu supremacist militia group that active participation of the Rwanda government and the Rwanda army.
And also, let's not forget about economics. Look at Colombia. The Colombia conflict lasting over 50 years was significantly fueled by inequality in land ownership and the lucrative yet destructive drug trade. Resource scarcity and competition often exacerbate existing tensions, creating fertile ground for conflict.
Oh, it's very sad, Regine. So this shows the link between economic inequality and conflict, a crucial factor in often overlooked.
Yes, and I have also searched about this one, the history of Colombia during the mid 20th century is marked by a period known as La Violencia, a violent political conflict primarily between the liberal and conservative parties that began in 1946 and lasted until 1964, resulting over 200,000 in deaths. The violence escalated following assassination of liberal leader George Eliezer Gaitan in 1948, leading to a widespread riots and societal chaos.
And also, the political landscape shifted with the establishment of the National Front in 1958. the creation that alternated power between liberals and conservatives for 16 years. This agreement aimed to stabilize the country but left many citizens feeling unrepresented during this era. Marxist guerrilla groups emerged as Natural Liberation Army or ELN in 1964, the Revolution Armed Forces of Colombia in 1966, partially as the response to the political exclusion and violence of La Valencia. As Colombia transitioned into late 1970s to 1980s, the growth of drug trade became a significant issue, the Colombia becoming a major supplier of marijuana and cocaine to the US. This led to the rise of powerful drug cartels such as those in Medellin and Cali, which influenced politics and society through violence and corruption.
And also the 1980s were marked by increased violence, highlighted by the assassination of political figures and attacks on government institutions. In response, President Belisario Betancourt attempted to negotiate peace with guerrilla groups. But violence still continued to escalate. The presidency of Virgilio Barco Vargas saw further activity from both guerrilla and paramilitary groups, leading to surge in homicide. And in the 1990s, introduced significant constitutional reforms under President Cesar Gaviria, aiming to address violence and establish peace with guerrilla groups. Despite some success, including the dismantling of the Medellin cartel and negotiations with the FARC, violence still persisted.
Yeah, and it's 21st century. President Alvaro Uribe implemented military strategies that successfully decreased the crime rates and violence against civilians. His administration facilitated disarmament agreement with paramilitary groups. But these challenges remain with the FARC peace talks begun in 2012 under the President Juan Manuel Santos, culminating in historic peace agreement in 2016, which sought an end decades of conflict.
So to sum it all, overall Colombia's history during this period has been characterized by political violence, the impact of drug trafficking, and ongoing efforts toward peace and reconciliation. We've looked at the devastating consequences of civil war, but we must also remember that the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity for forgiveness, reconciliation, and rebuilding is remarkable. It's a testament to the strength and hope that emerged even from the deepest despair.
These examples highlight a crucial point. The roots of civil wars are rarely simple. They're usually a complex web of religious, ethnic, political, and economic factors intertwined, making conflict prevention a challenging but a vital task.
Right, and also understanding these roots causes is key to prevention. We need to address inequalities, promote inclusivity, and build strong, just societies that don't leave large segments of the population feeling marginalized.
This emphasizes the importance of building inclusive and equitable societies. Understanding these root causes is a first step towards preventing future conflicts. We need to move beyond simplistic narratives and acknowledge the complex interplay of factors that contribute to the civil unrest.
Indeed, the path to peace is long and arduous, but it's path worth striving for. It requires collective effort, empathy, and commitment to justice and equality, and that commitment begins with each and every one of us.
And let's not forget the importance of education and awareness. Understanding the complexities of conflict is crucial for preventing future violence. By learning from the past, we can work towards and is more powerful for the future.
That's all the time we have for today's episode of Global Conflicts Unveiled.
Thank you for joining with us on our first segment of our podcast. Join us next time as we go into. Bye!